Okay, today we're going to start off on page 80 of your Big Ideas textbook. Today's lesson is 2.4, Adding and Subtracting Decimals. Now our purpose today is to practice adding and subtracting decimals so you can apply this skill to real-world situations. The most common time when you're going to be adding and subtracting decimals is anytime you're talking about money and you're purchasing something, buying something, receiving money, whatever the case may be. But money is a very common thing that you're going to need to be able to accurately compute decimals with. So our question today is, how can you add and subtract decimals? Okay, our key idea, or the steps that they list in the book or talk about, is to add or subtract decimals, write the numbers vertically, and line up the decimal points. Then bring down the decimal point and add or subtract as you would with whole numbers. Now I do have this paragraph broken down step by step on the next slide, so at this point you don't need to write anything down. So I want you to pause the video as you need to, but we're going to go through one step at a time. How do you add or subtract decimals? Step one is to line up the decimals. So regardless of how the decimals fall, you need to line them up. So for example, if I had this problem, okay, let's say I had, oops, I'm not going to include the money sign on this. Let's say I had 2 7/10 plus 3 25/100. When I were to write this up and down, I would be lining up the decimals, not the end of the numbers. So you'll notice my 3 25/100 does stick out farther than my 2 7/10. Step 2, fill in any empty spaces with zeros or placeholders. After a decimal, you can add as many zeros as you want if it's after the decimal and it does not change the value of your number. So after my 2.7, I am going to add a 0. Now this doesn't seem like it would make a big difference when you're adding, but when you're subtracting, it really does make a difference. You have to have your numbers going out the same number of places. Okay, step 3, add or subtract like normal. So 0 plus 5, 7 plus 2, and 2 plus 3. Now, the fourth step is incredibly important. You have to drop the decimal point straight down. Right now, I have the answer 595, but I do have a decimal to bring down. So my answer is really 5 95/100. Do not forget to drop down the decimal.